Hi, I think you guys can see me. Just let me know. Good evening, guys. Good evening, Manish, Kushagra, Siddharth, and good to see all of you. Amar, Arjav, all of you good to see, and Aditya. Good evening, those who are joining us. Really good to see all of you guys here. Good evening. I'm okay. Yeah. So good to see all of you. This is going to be a session, kind of a doubt clearing session, plan setting session, kind of a session where you take stock of what you have to do for the next 90 days. Even that is very important, not just like individual topics are important, individual concepts are important, but also having your head in order and focusing is also as important as all of those things. So this is basically a session in which I will answer all of your doubts when regards to preparation, and basically the focus would be to get all the students on track when it comes to their preparation, and essentially get everybody on track on what needs to be done in the next 90 days. So good to see all of you guys over here, and nice to see so many people joining us. Please like the stream, please share the stream. That helps us a lot when it comes to getting students to getting our team motivated to produce good content, getting more students involved, and all of that really helps us in putting out more streams. So please like the stream, please share the stream with whoever is preparing for CAT exam as such. So good to see all of you guys over here. So in this particular session, I'll try to answer most of your doubts. So please do put it in the YouTube chat, and I'll try to solve as many of them as possible. I'll start with the session soon. So please like the stream, please share the stream with whoever is preparing for CAT so that we can get started. There won't be a test today. This is mostly a motivation session, a session based on trying to figure out what needs to be done in the remaining days to CAT. So basically, I want to give you a checklist that you should remember that from now on what I need to do every single day. So just kind of taking stock of where you are and the plan ahead. Okay, so please like the stream, please share the stream. I see more than 90 people online and only 58 likes. So please like the stream. It helps us reach more students, and that makes us more motivated to hold these kind of streams. So please like the stream. Okay, Pranav, don't be demotivated. See, there's a lot of time to CAT, and I know that everybody, depending on how committed you are, you will be able to crack CAT. So do not get demotivated. I'll try to give you a way forward. That's all you really need, right? A way forward, a plan. And if you have that, then you can work towards it. If you don't have any way forward, that is when you get demotivated. So I'll try my best to give you a way forward so that you know that, okay, if I do this, this, then I can crack CAT. So I'll try my best to make that for you. Okay. So good to see you, Aarti, and good to see Nishant, Druhi. I'll try to answer as many of your questions as possible. How to avoid rereading the lines while doing RC? Aarti, always do active reading. I'll come to that in specific this when I come to the questions about VARC. But remember, for stopping the whole rereading thing, you have to do active reading. I never reread, and the reason why I don't have to reread is because I always do active reading, in the sense, I'll just explain what that is when I come to that section. Okay. I just enrolled to Krakow, when to start giving mocks. 3 months is enough. 3 months is enough, but you have to start giving mocks. It is the time when every weekend you have to give a mock. Okay, so it is enough for everybody, not just those who have enrolled. It is definitely enough to crack CAT if you have a plan, if you have a schedule. If you don't have a schedule, then it becomes very, very difficult to crack CAT in a limited time period. Those of you who are still at the starting line, who are still getting a hold of their preparation, don't worry. It doesn't matter if you are still struggling with your preparation. Even if you have progressed quite a bit but are not sure of how to actually cover the rest of the portion, if you just want a like a complete coaching in which everything is properly organized and properly explained, then please do check out our 75 days batch. The 75 days batch has a day-to-day schedule. You will get every day, you will get a list of concept videos to watch, a list of concept tests to take, and basically like every day's schedule will be there, so that you don't waste a single day out of the 75 days. Our job is to make sure that we extract as much out of you as possible, so that you can give your best on CAT day as such. So good to see so many people. 114 people but only 96 likes. Please guys, like the stream, share the stream with anybody who is preparing for CAT. Okay, so let's get started. I'll answer as many of the specific doubts in the middle as such, but I firstly want to start off by addressing a lot of questions which a lot of students have, at least if it's not even spoken, it is at the heart of their phobias or at the heart of their fears, is that whether they are smart enough to crack CAT. A lot of people feel that okay, ye to nahi ho payega, this year is gone, or this year I can't do it, or I can't do this particular section at all. So don't fear. There's a big, this is essentially a mental block towards cracking CAT. So you need to work through this particular mental block. Remember, there are two ways of looking at CAT exam. You can look at it like a talent, that okay, cracking CAT is a talent, somebody who's born with it. For example, like singing, some people are born with a beautiful voice. And you can't, irrespective of how much you practice, you will not become a good singer if you are not born with a good voice. If you look at CAT that way, then you will start to think of it as a insurmountable problem. But it is not the case. Cracking CAT is not about talent, it is about skill. What is skill? Skill, if you think of it like say your ability to write is a skill, it's not a talent. Your ability to read is a skill, it's not a talent. And whenever you think of it as a skill, what immediately jumps to your mind? Even like for example, carpentry is a skill. All of these are skills basically, that means that they are in your hands to improve. A skill basically means that you get as much as you put into it. So it means that you can get better only through practice. So whenever you're thinking of CAT, don't think of it as a talent. Some people are naturally very smart. Some people are going to find it much easier than me to crack CAT. That might be true, but if you think of it as a talent, if you think of it as something which is innate, then you mentally make it a insurmountable problem, but it is not the case. Always think of CAT, every section, every question as a skill. That once you have that kind of a mindset change, then things don't seem impossible anymore. They just seem like you have to...
Your face is blurred.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'll just reset this. Okay, sorry, where was I? I was saying that if you start thinking of CAT cracking CAT as a skill, then it becomes easier. Once you start thinking that this is a skill, what happens is that you start thinking of it as, okay, if I have to crack quant, I have to solve arithmetic questions, I have to solve algebra questions, I have to solve these questions. So I have to have arithmetic skills, I have to have algebra skills. Now how do you get arithmetic skills? It's not a God-given gift, right? It will only come through practice. Nobody is born knowing how to make chairs or knowing how to do basic skills as such. Skills are learnt, always remember that. Now many people feel that okay, something comes easier to them, so it's not fair. Now that's a negative mindset to keep as such. Just think of it as fitness, okay? Being fit is easier for some people when it comes to as compared to others. Some people struggle with their fitness, some people find it very easy to be fit. So irrespective of whether or not it is easy for you or not, always just remember that you have to just make little bit of progress in the right direction. So as long as you are making progress in the right direction, whether you are putting in the same amount of effort as your peer or your competitor or whoever you are indexing with, it doesn't matter. If you have to study for 3 hours while somebody else has to study for half an hour, it doesn't really matter, because you're doing not for somebody else, you're doing it for yourself. You're doing it so that you can crack CAT. So always remember, this is a skill and it depends entirely on you how much time you put. If it is harder for you, put in more time. That's the only way you can answer this particular how do I actually crack CAT? Put in the amount of time that is required for you to develop the skill. That's it. If it takes you 3 hours instead of half an hour, that's what you need. Always remember, there will be people who will tell you that, okay, I just took 3 marks before CAT and I cracked CAT. That might work for them, but that doesn't mean that it will work for you. Always know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and how much work you need. Each person's work that is required to crack CAT is different. Some people require 3 weeks, some people require 1.5 years. There's nothing wrong with that. Work with what your strengths and weaknesses are instead of against them, and work just towards the fact that you have to now crack CAT. If you have 3 months left, just understand what skills do I have to build, where am I starting at, what are my strengths and weaknesses, and give yourself the time to crack CAT. I think Pranav was saying that there is no hope or nothing will happen this time. So basically you're not giving yourself enough credit. You have 3 months in your hand and you have certain skills. You just have to identify where are the gaps. How much time are you ready to put into this? You have 3 months. You can do it, let's say sleep for 3 months. Put in 2 hours, 3 hours every single day. You can definitely put in 3 hours every single day for the next 75 days. If you are able to do that, you can do much better than what you have anticipated. Probably even 99 plus, 99.5 plus. But you have to at least give yourself a chance to actually crack CAT. So just remember, firstly put yourself in the right mindset. This is a skill. If I give myself the time, I invest in myself the time to crack CAT, I will crack CAT. If you start by thinking of it in that way, it will help you quite a bit for cracking CAT. Move away from the mindset of this being a talent and instead think of it as a skill. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the questions we have before we go ahead. Manish is saying, seeing toppers constantly reinforces doubt in my preparation. See, again Manish, think of it in this way, your race is against yourself. If 60 people go in top are placed above you in the actual CAT exam, you will still get into IIMA or IIMB or IIMC. It's not that you have to be first. You have to essentially do the best out of what you can. So you have to think that, okay, I have to say A, B, C, L, I, K plus JBIMS plus all the other institutes, XLRI. I am going to consider all of the institutes, and for CAT, ZAT, NMAT, SNAP, everything I'll give. Now once I give myself the chance to actually succeed, I have to then go and think that, okay, what do I need? I don't need to be a topper. I need to pass above, I need to clear the cutoff. That is the thing that you should remember. Toppers will be there, but essentially it depends on who performs on that day. So give yourself that your targets should be what you compete against yourself, saying that, okay, usually I should, the targets I generally put is, I should be able to solve at least 30 questions in quant. I should be able to solve at least 4 sets in LRDI. I should be able to solve all of VARC. Once you stop thinking about others and start thinking about what is your potential and living up to that potential, you will not feel demotivated. So Kuldeep is saying, I'm able to solve actual CAT RC with 60-70% accuracy in 12 minutes. How can I solve it in minimum time? So basically, first, if your accuracy is 60-70%, focus on improving that accuracy, because essentially if your accuracy is at 60-70%, the differential you are going to get of doing it with lesser time is not really going to be much. At 40 minutes, you will be able to solve most of the paper. In fact, most of your peers will also be able to solve most of the paper. So the key will not be attempt rate, the key will be accuracy. So try to improve that accuracy and get it to above 80% range. Once you are there, then you can focus on improving your attempt rate as such. Jayashree saying, solving mocks becomes so monotonous, especially if you have a repeater. It's all the same. I feel solving so many mocks would make me less flexible if paper has surprises. No, practice will not make you less flexible. Practice will make you surer of yourself. See, basically think of it in this way. If you solve 100 questions, you get the confidence of solving 101 question. If you start thinking that, okay, this is monotonous or this is like not challenging, what I would suggest is change the format. For example, figure out where your weaknesses are. Okay, so essentially you should not just give a mock for the sake of giving it. After every mock, you have to do an analysis, analyze and find out where are your weaknesses, where are your strengths, and accordingly adjust your strategy. So your daily schedule should not be, okay, take a mock, take a mock, take a mock, take a mock every single day. Then it is going to get monotonous. You have to change up how you prepare. If you do the same exercise every single day, it is not going to help you. You have to change up what you do each day. So I will give you a basic idea of like the how you should actually have a daily plan, what should be your weekly plan. So let us go to the next part, which is write down a plan. A lot of people have the tendency to just do whatever is convenient, do whatever is in front of them, but that will not help you with CAT. I'll actually give you my live experience of CAT as far as preparing for it was concerned. The first time I gave CAT, I did not have any plan with me. I just basically used to study haphazardly. I used to study whatever I used to like to do. So I used to mostly do quant. Sometimes I used to one of LRDI sets I used to solve. Other than that, I mostly used to just do whatever I used to like doing rather than what was needed to be done. I mostly would not do algebra because I did not enjoy having those kind of complicated questions. Now, when you don't have a plan, you don't really know how much you are progressing or what needs to be done to progress. So with 75 days left to CAT, you do no longer have the luxury of like just having a meandering preparation. You need to have a concrete plan. So when I say a concrete plan, what do I mean? You need to write down, okay, day 1, I'm going to do this. Day 2, I'm going to do this. Have a Word document ready, print it out and put it in front of your study table. Have like a study area, clear out the study area, paste this particular, with sellotape or whatever, paste this particular table in front of you, and day by day you should be marking entries off of that table. You have 75 days, just write from 1 to 75 what needs to be done every single day. So basically once you have that kind of put in one day to actually just make this table, because what is going to happen is that if you sit down to make a table of what needs to be done, you will get a better idea of what the syllabus is, how much of the syllabus you have covered, how much is left. That kind of stock taking is also needed. If you have not done that, you are going to end up missing some certain things. So always make sure that you actually write down if how much of the syllabus is done, how much of it is left, and what you need to do. If you have joined our batch, it is easier for you. For example, in our batch, you get a daily schedule anyway. So in the daily schedule, you already know how much percentage completion is done, how much percentage completion is done for each day. So just write down where are the gaps remaining. Okay, so once you have done that, what I want you to do is, once this is done, I want you to have this in front of you, and I want you guys to have this clear idea of how what needs to be done on a daily basis. Now, what should actually be included on a day-to-day basis? You need not put like, okay, at a granular level what needs to be done. Put in the topic name that you're going to cover, put in whether you have to cover a concept or whether you have to practice, and put in the distribution of practice versus concept coverage. So generally when you are like starting off, what happens is that when you have not completed all the concepts, most of your daily activities, like if this is your daily schedule, most of it will be basically concept coverage. So concepts, learning concepts, seeing concept videos, reading concept notes, all of that would be mostly your concepts as far as CAT is concerned, just seeing and reading concepts. There will be a smaller part of practice. Okay. Now when you are making this table, just make sure that as you go along the days, from day 1 you might have a lot of concept coverage and very little practice, but as you hit day 20, day 25, this percentage distribution shifts. Essentially, if this is your time, this is day 0, day 5, day 10 and so on till day 75, you can start off with concept heavy this preparation. So this can be concepts, this can be practice, okay. So you can start off by doing a lot of concepts initially, but over time your focus should shift away from concepts to practice. So when you're making the day-to-day schedule, just write down what is the plan for the day and how much of it is concepts, how much of it is practice. So once you have that in front of you, you know that whether you're putting in enough amount of practice or not. Very few people actually practice as much as is needed. most of the students essentially avoid practice, especially of areas that they are not too fond of. So make sure that you are not ignoring practice. Practice is basically what is going to carry you in CAT. Watching concept videos will just help you understand, but that coupled with practice is essentially what is going to actually help you crack CAT. So once you have that schedule, you should have a Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday kind of a schedule, and on Sunday there should be a constant from now till CAT. Every Sunday, every single Sunday you should take one mock, and every alternate Sundays you should take one sectional, whatever section you are weak in, plus analyze the previous mock. You should at least take around 10 mocks from now to CAT. If you are not taking 10 mocks or plus sectionals, sectionals separately, if you are not taking 10 mocks and 10 sectionals, you are not doing enough amount of practice to actually crack CAT. So there should be no excuse. Every Saturday, Sunday, you have to make sure that you take at least one mock and at least one sectional. Okay, ideally you should have at least 10 plus mocks before you actually give CAT, and at least 20 plus sectionals before you give CAT. The person one of the people who used to work for Krakow initially, so I basically also see when people have a lot of improvement, what actually drove their improvement. So for one person I saw that this person had very good VARC, but their quant was weak and their LRDI was very random. Like some days they could solve 3 sets, sometimes they could solve 1 set, or sometimes no set at all. So it was a very fluctuating LRDI as such. So this person basically did one thing right when it came to their preparation. They took insane number of mocks, basically like something like 20 plus mocks. Every previous paper was solved in test format, every mock was taken, every mock was analyzed, gaps were identified, they were corrected. So once you start taking mocks very seriously, all of these issues where you start identifying what are the errors that I am making, what are the areas that I am not able to solve the answers. So you have to actually take those mocks and analyze those mocks very carefully. So always remember, you have to have this daily plan. This daily plan where what concepts I am going to cover, what practice I am going to cover. Weekly plan, I have to cover at least one mock or a sectional plus mock analysis. So that should be your idea going forward. I'll try to solve some questions. One more thing, if you guys are looking for consistent practice, also take a look at Krakow's daily target. It gives you 5 quant questions plus 1 LRDI set plus 1 RC set or VA set every single day, and all of these come with video solutions. So it's like very good practice, and these are very good quality questions. So if you are able to do all of them, you are going to get consistent practice from now to CAT day. So please do check our mocks as well as our 75 days batch as well as CAT daily target. CAT daily target is more geared towards repeaters. So as somebody said that mocks get too monotonous if you are a repeater. I understand it completely, but then you have to figure out what else I can do for practice. So it should not be necessarily just keep taking mocks. You can take previous year's papers, you can take topic tests, you can take daily targets. So you should have different things that you take for practice. Mocks are basically practice, and they are above practice in a way that they are in a timed format. They stress you, they kind of simulate the actual test experience. That is in addition to the practice they give you. So that all of that is very important. But at the same time, just mocks might get too monotonous. So also see what other avenues you have for practice. Okay, let's take a look at a few questions that we have. Okay, what about the lag part? Okay, is there a lag in the video? I'm not sure. Under 100 or around, I'm able to score under 100 or around 100 in every daily target, but still doubtful in my prep, still have to cover algebra and modern maths. Any advice? See Divyansh, you have to first cover all the concepts. As I said, do not leave concepts for later. I sense that you don't actually like modern maths and algebra, which is why you know that you have not covered them but are not moving towards covering them. Finish them off. It is important that you should have complete concept coverage, that you know all the formulas that are. Because I will tell you, in modern maths, for example, in logarithms, in in functions, there are many easy questions that come, 3 logarithm questions or 2 functions questions, which are on the easy side. And if you are not comfortable with them, or you have a mental block towards them, something that is easy will also start appearing very difficult. So you need to not only cover the concept, but from after covering the concept, you should have the confidence of taking on any question that comes from that topic. So first fix all of those concepts that you have to cover. I would suggest that actually, like, say for the next 25 days, I'll just sit and cover all the concepts I have missed. So the first 25 days, do like 20% practice, 80% concept coverage, cover everything that you have not covered till now, and from the 26th day onwards, just focus or pivot towards more practice. Do not leave things which you have not covered to fester, because essentially after you have covered that conceptual part, you have to boost it with practice. If you cover algebra and modern maths in November, you won't have time to practice them. So you have to cover them now. Any concepts, this is not just for you as such, any concepts that you guys have missed, please make sure you focus on clearing all of them. Clear up all the concept videos that are there. Many students have a lot of backlog when it comes to their batch tasks. Please go through the videos, please start practicing and clearing out the backlog of videos, because you need to cover those concept videos before you start moving to practice. And we'll be giving you a lot more practice in the coming days, so I want you to make sure that everybody starts clearing their backlog of videos. If you have a lot of backlog, what I'll tell you about the Krakow's videos are, you can see the concept video. In the concept video, you can see below the video there are questions given. So if you want to quickly go through the videos, what I'll generally say is that see the initial explanation and formulas and whatever theorems that I say, and then you can, that would be basically 15-20 minutes, okay? And then you have 5 questions or 6 questions. Try to solve those questions on your own. If you try to solve the questions on your own, it can be done in 15 minutes. So 15 plus 15, 30 minutes, you can cover a video which is of an hour. So if you want to quickly go through them and also get practice at the same time, you can do this, you can cover videos in that way. So I would suggest that don't leave things like for October and November. Make sure that all your concept coverage is done in September itself. Strategy for those who have covered the syllabus. Next step, Nigam, so basically you have to remember that now your focus has pivoted towards practice. Now with practice, what can you do? Firstly, you should have a daily plan of what to practice. Now I'll just actually come to that, because that's my next this of what to practice, what exactly you have to write down. But just remember, there are with every mock, with every test you take, you have to identify your strengths and your weaknesses. And once you identify your strengths and weaknesses, your practice, what you practice has to be driven by your strengths and weaknesses. Okay, so I'll just go to the next part. I think, about the analysis of tests and mocks. This is the second thing that a lot of people, this is one of those things that a lot of people actually do incorrectly. Firstly, many people don't take any mocks till September, which is a mistake. You should have started taking mocks in July. Even if you have not started, start taking now. September start is a late start, but not a terrible start. So start taking mocks now. But also remember, every test, every mock you take, you have to consider what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. So if you take Krakow's mock, for example, in Krakow's mock, you will see this kind of a section. You get a proper analysis as such. So in in the analysis part, you see for each section what is your strengths and weaknesses. So for example, I found this of a particular student. So basically, the y-axis shows the accuracy, the x-axis shows attempt rate. Now this essentially is a graph which shows what are the subjects you are good at, what are the subjects you are terrible at. So for example, if you consider this person has 100% attempt rate but 0% accuracy in functions and graphs and statistics. Now if that is the case, in number systems, if that is the case, you have to really think for yourself, should I be attempting number system questions If that is the case, you might actually stop and think that okay, maybe I'll attempt number systems later on. If you have two questions, you solve two questions and you get both of them wrong, you have to really consider that does it make sense for me to actually go through them first. Always have a good sense of what are your strengths. This person is good in linear equations, this person is good in geometry, in profit and loss. So when the person is good at all of those things, then you have to start thinking that okay, for example, this person is good in arithmetic. So if this person is good in arithmetic, what should you first focus on? In the quant section, you should focus on getting everything in arithmetic right. If you're good at arithmetic and you're not actually leaving certain parts of arithmetic without solving, you should start thinking that why am I doing that? That is not a smart thing to do. So firstly, with each test you take, mock you take, analyze. Am I doing well in this? Is this a strength? Is this a weakness? Now, if you have that kind of an idea, I'll basically give the main strategy for mocks and sectionals. What should you look immediately when you take the mock and sectional, what analysis you have to do. So a very crude heuristic that I generally take when I consider whether I'm doing well enough in mocks and sectional is that my target when I enter a mock and sectional analysis is that I have to check that. For me particularly, I know that arithmetic is a strength. I know that VARC, I generally have a high accuracy. I know that my attempt rate in LRDI is low. Now, if I know all of these strengths and weaknesses, what should I go and do in my analysis? The first thing I check is that have I missed any arithmetic question or I gotten any arithmetic question wrong. My focus always is to make sure that I get at least 80% of all arithmetic questions right and I solve all arithmetic questions. What it does is that basically 40% of your paper is arithmetic. So if you have 40%, if you have 80% accuracy in your 40% of the paper, your score is going to be much higher than like the base itself improves. So always have this kind of heuristic. I'm very good at this. I should not miss a single question in this. I should have a very high accuracy in this. Always go in when you're analyzing, always make sure that that is true for you. So if you are very good at algebra or if you are very good at geometry, you should analyze at the end of the mock. Did I actually attempt every single geometry question? Did I have a good accuracy in that? So that is where your strengths come in. Your strengths, whatever your strengths are, know your strengths and remember that accuracy, keep an eye on accuracy there and make sure you attempt every single question that comes from that topic. The other crude heuristic that I have when it comes to accuracy comes to VARC section is that I keep an eye on my RC accuracy. My RC accuracy, I believe that your RC accuracy should be at least 80%. See, when you are actually in the CAT center, right, your adrenaline is pumping, you are far more concentrated and VARC is the first section. So what happens is that you go quickly through the section. I hardly know anybody who doesn't complete at least 70-80% of the section. So VARC attempt rate is never really the problem. In VARC section, always the consistent problem is accuracy. Because once you are in the actual CAT center, you won't take that much time to actually unless you have problems focusing, like you have problems like reading in under pressure or you have problems concentrating under pressure. If you are able to read the RC, you will be able to solve 70-80% of the paper because you are in a hyper focus mode at the start of the exam. That kind of wanes after like VARC, after VARC, you have DILR, you have mental fatigue build up and then your attempt rate kind of dips in quant because of that. But in VARC, generally your attempt rate is fairly good because you are like that's the first section. So you have to make sure that one of the this that you check is that VARC RC accuracy has to be above 80%. Now if it is not above 80%, you have to see what kind of questions am I tripping upon, what kind of passages am I tripping upon. So even in the passages, note down, okay, this was an informative passage, I did not understand this passage in this area. This passage was difficult to read and with difficult to read RCs, I make these mistakes. This passage was a scientific passage and I make these mistakes. Now once you identify that there is a repeated pattern of error in these particular section, try to read from those sources. So for scientific magazines, scientific RCs, you can try to read from scientific magazines. For informative RCs, try to read from Aeon or anything which has a lot of long form essays. Whenever there is difficult English throws you off, try to read from sources which have flowery language. It will be difficult, but the whole point is to challenge you so that you overcome a weakness. Okay, the third heuristic that I check for with each mock analysis is how many DILR sets I solved, and if I missed a easy DILR set. That is one of the sore points when it comes to DILR set, that you did not check the entire section and there was an easy DILR set that you missed. A lot of people feel that way, that okay, there was this easy set that I should have not missed. So that is another thing that you should actually check in your analysis. Did you pick the right sets? And when how do you actually know how to pick the right sets? Have the name for each type of set. So after solving so many sets, I know each type of set, name for each type of set. There are games and tournament sets, there are puzzles, there are arrangement sets, there are team selection sets, there are sets based on scheduling, there are sets based on 2D diagrams, there are sets based on 3D diagrams. Whatever is the type of set, okay, if you immediately put a name to it after reading the first few sentences, what happens is your mind already starts churning. It starts working. Am I good at this particular type of puzzle? Am I good at this particular type of LRDI set? How many of these type of LRDI sets did I even solve? If you have solved 5 scheduling sets, you are decent. You would be reasonably certain of solving the 6th one. So always make sure that you are able to name the different DILR sets, and you are also able to name what is the right representation for each set. Once you are able to do that, then you know that okay, is this set easy, is this set difficult, is this going to be time consuming, or is this going to be like a 12-minute, under 12-minute set. So once you have that kind of hold, then it becomes easier to pick sets. So when you go back to analysis, then you try to see, okay, the sets I left, were they actually easy or were they difficult? That is all these 3 key heuristics you should always do. Whatever is your quant strength, you should have 100% attempt rate in that. RC accuracy should be above 80%. DILR, you should at least be able to solve 3 sets, and you should not have missed any easy set. That is the not a complete analysis, but these are the 3 easy to do analysis that you should do after every mock. If you do that, basically what happens is that you at least have a base from which to work on. Okay, once you start building that base, that okay, whatever happens, I will get arithmetic right, then you know that at least I am going to get X number of marks in quant section, then you can improve from there. Okay, so this is one of the things that you should always remember when it comes to analysis of tests and mocks. Have these 3 key heuristics ready. You should always check after giving a mock that did I do these 3 steps. Okay, what is the ideal percentile for Krakow mocks? Harshvardhan, basically I would suggest that at this point of time you should at least try to be above 90 percentile, because essentially that is the mocks are essentially taken by more serious students, and they are at times the percentiles are far more competitive. So between 97 and 99, I don't feel there's a huge gap as such. But remember that you should at least be 90 percentile plus at this point, and it's not just the percentile you should look at. The percentile is an indicator. What you should actually look at is the symptoms. Okay, what are the symptoms? I'm doing poorly in this, I'm doing well in this. That is what you should look more at, not at just this as such. Okay. Okay, how accurate is the percentile predictor on Krakow website for getting a call? It is very, very accurate. In fact, we have spent a lot of time. We have, I think, of all the institutes, we have the most amount of previous data as far as calls to percentile and everything is concerned. So it is fairly accurate. Again, in spite of having said that, there is a disclaimer. At the tail end, there is going to be error, because at the tail end it is difficult to predict with this. So it will be very, very reasonably accurate when it comes to like the 95 to 99 percentile range, but 99.99 would be difficult to actually predict as such. So calls to this, essentially at the tail ends there will be errors. Okay. What should be the approach for number systems and permutations and probability? See, remember with number systems, you should focus more on HCF LCM. The kind of questions where you will be given that okay, AB is a number and you switch it. So these are basically fundamental number system questions based on divisibility, HCF LCM, factors, number of factors. These are more important than remainder theorems, and these come every single year. So number system comes. Every single year number system comes, but not remainder theorems. So just remember that number systems is not unimportant, just not what you have been led to believe. Number systems is very important. HCF, LCM is very important. Divisibility of numbers is very important. Factors is very important. So always remember, those are extremely important questions that you should know very well. When it comes to permutations and combinations, you need not solve a whole lot of questions, but I would suggest that you should have the basics very, very clear, because some permutations questions might come, but what can happen is that a entire DILR set can come based on permutations. Now if that is the case, you should be able to solve it. For example, there are many DILR sets which are based on enumeration, and in enumeration you have like counting the number of cases where you have to do like consider permutations and combination. So you should be very clear in the concepts, very clear about the formulae, remember every single formulae, plus some little practice. You need not deep dive into the practice, but your concept clarity should be there, because it can come as a standalone DILR set, and if it does come, then I don't want you to think that okay, I don't know permutations and combinations, I can't do this. That should not be the response to it. Is it fine to leave half of algebra? I'm not at all good at it, and be thorough with the rest of the syllabus. See, Kartikeya, the issue with that is that if you have that mindset, then what you are going to do is you are going to end up missing on easy parts of algebra. So if you feel that okay, algebra I am not very good at it, then you can say that okay, I'll probably not do that in the first go, but I will also not leave a easy question. So always you should have full concept coverage. When I say concept coverage, you should know each trick that is there, each formula that is there, each part of like how to solve that is there. Now, if you are fairly certain that that would not be your pick when it comes to solving in the actual CAT paper, or there's lower probability of you solving, then you can like tone down the practice, but don't tone down the concept coverage, because essentially your focus should be, if an easy question comes from that, even a topic that you hate, if an easy question comes from that, you should not leave it, because you will not believe the number of easy questions that have come from logarithms, from functions, from algebra that people have missed. That is almost like the difference between topping, doing really well in quant and struggling in quant. Those easy questions, if you had just had an open mind and solved, you would have actually done very well in quant. So don't write off subjects completely. You should at least be able to solve. Just basically think of it in this way. You might not be an expert in algebra, but you should not be a novice either. You should at least have you should have entire concept clarity plus some amount of practice. Okay. So I'll go to the next Neil is asking, most post-mock test analysis for the upcoming would really help for spotting our mistakes. Live test attempt video from your side would help us on how to attempt mock. So we have started adding the analysis as such, Neil. So please do check out. We have put up for DC8 and DC9. So please do check out our analysis video. So Shrishti is asking how many total questions are expected in this year's paper. If we assume that it is going to be same as last year's paper, that will be like 26, 24, 26. So that would be how much? 52, 76 questions. So if that, and I think that's a reasonable assumption to make as such. Their CAT generally is more deterministic and throws lesser curveballs. So I would say 76 question, and I would actually go by the last year's mock as the pattern as such. How to prepare for quant to clear the sectional cutoff, surely what topics to cover. Piyush, basically you should have a hierarchy of topics. So I'll basically come to that. So let us go to the next, this as such. Okay, there are a lot of people who essentially, essentially when people you start preparation in July, they are full of optimism and enthusiasm. Then they start actually facing the hurdles. Okay, algebra is a big hurdle, geometry is a big hurdle. Then they start feeling that okay, I'm not really doing as well as I expected to be. Then essentially basically your initial enthusiasm wears off, and then you find yourself in this valley of despair where you are like, you don't have the enthusiasm, your mock scores have not improved, you're still making the same mistakes, and your motivation is at an all-time low, which is around this time. This happens to many students year after year. We see that where around September, October, the motivation is at actually September, August and September, the motivation is at its lowest ebb, because the initial enthusiasm of like preparing for CAT in July has worn off by now. So now you are facing the realities of the fact that okay, there are many struggles in front of you, many hurdles in front of you. Now instead of being stuck in the valley of despair, you have to basically find yourself a way to climb out of it. Now how do you actually climb out of it? there's like this entire path up is essentially practice. And I know many people will not like this answer, but it is only through practice that you are going to get better. Watching videos will help you a little bit, but if you really want to crack CAT, your focus should be on practice. Now, only practice will not help, because if you don't know the concept, what will you practice? You will just not be able to solve the question. So obviously you have to start clearing up the concepts as such. So make sure that the first thing that you do is clear up the concepts, finish your syllabus, then just start practicing. Just keep practicing till you find yourself out of the valley of despair. See, basically motivation is if you think more and more about I won't be able to do it, I won't be able to do it, you will be stuck over here. Just stop thinking about it. Every day just stick to your schedule. Don't think about what you have to do. Will it be enough? Will I be able to clear the quant sectional cutoff? Don't think about it. Think that I have to put in 3 hours today. Have I put in 3 hours today? That is the only question that you should ask of yourself. I had to put in 3 hours today to crack CAT. Did I put in 3 hours to crack CAT as such? So I will address individual phobias also of quant, VAR, LRDI. And many people have this mental block where they are able to solve questions afterwards. They are able to solve questions once the mock closes. Then they start seeing the question and things start becoming very clear. The mental fog that is there disappears. Now that is basically a sign of you having a mental block when it comes to certain sections or certain areas. Now how do you actually build the confidence, build the ability to actually handle that kind of stress? Again, it is practice, and this basically practice is you have to put smart practice. For example, I'll begin with quant. If you have a phobia of quant, how do you actually come out of that? See, basically what you try to do is you should have small targets. So for example, if you are working towards a goal, always like cut down that goal into small parts. Now the basic smallest target that I do always when it comes to quant, that I say that first, if you consider the entire section or syllabus of quant, first try to master arithmetic, because that is 40% of the weightage. So if you can master arithmetic, you will be able to solve 40% of CAT quant paper. Now for you, if you want to master arithmetic, if I just say go and focus on arithmetic, it becomes very difficult. Again, the whole phobia sets in. So if you have like a phobia of quant, you are very afraid of quant, what I would actually say is like have even smaller goals. Smaller goals is that instead of saying arithmetic, say that I am going to be very good at profit and loss. So what does it take to actually be good at profit and loss? See all the concept videos, learn all the formulas. There are not many, there are like 10 formulas. You can learn them in one afternoon. After that comes the harder part. You have to solve questions. So how many questions would P&L, profit and loss, do you have to solve for you to actually be an expert in it? Depends on you. For some it might be 30, some it might be 50, some it might be 100. We have more than 100 questions in Krakow study room. So basically at this point of time, your small target, your very small target is that you should be a master of profit and loss. Any question that comes from profit and loss and interest, you should be able to solve like a absolute wizard. Now if you have overcome that one small hurdle, it will give you some confidence, some boost to your confidence that okay, at least 2-3 questions in the out of those 26 I am going to be able to solve. That is what you should do. Have small goals in front of you. Whatever your phobia is, basically this list of things, okay? Your quant paper is not a extremely diverse set of or a very big syllabus as such. The syllabus is fairly small and doable, but you have to make that like I will have smaller targets. I am going to be an expert in profit and loss. Then after this is done, I will say that okay, my next target, small target, is that I have to be an expert in time and work. Time and work is very simple. Time, speed and distance is difficult, but time and work is very simple. So I will be an expert in time and work. Then I will say that I will be an expert in averages, ratio and proportion. Again, a simple topic out of arithmetic. I will be an expert in that. Once you have done that, what have you done? You have actually covered most of arithmetic. The harder questions of time, speed and distance, the harder questions of like say in arithmetic, even if you are not able to solve, you are now able to solve most of arithmetic as such. So you have made significant progress. So have these smaller this and make sure that you actually achieve those small goals. Those small goals are going to give you the confidence to actually overcome your phobia of quant. You can have your phobia of quant, but you should essentially from that list of quant topics that you have phobia of, you should remove one topic. I will no longer have a phobia of P&L, profit, loss and interest. That topic I won't have a phobia of. I will no longer have a phobia of time and work. I will no longer have a phobia of averages, ratio and proportion. That way you remove all arithmetic. Then go to geometry. Again, many people will struggle with geometry. Geometry is not easy. It is one of those areas where people struggle quite a bit. Now, how do you actually remove the phobia of geometry? Now, don't think of the worst case in geometry. There's like a 3D figure which has a 2D figure representation, and then you have to find out something which is very complex. That need not be your goal. Have a more realistic goal. Anything that comes from triangles, I will remember every single property there is of triangles. I'll solve 100 questions of triangles. Anything comes from triangles, I'll be able to solve it. Similarly for circles, say that I'll remember every single chord and tangent property. I'll learn everything about circles. If anything comes from circles, I'll be able to do it. Put discrete small targets. That's how you achieve targets. Okay. So this is basically about quant. This Swarna, she is saying that I know the concept but I find difficult to solve it, because knowing concept is like 20% of the work. The rest 80% is always practice. So what does it mean that you know the concept but find it difficult to solve? That means that you don't actually have a good hold on the concept. So basically think of it as if you're cooking, you have a recipe in front of you. When you know a concept, you have read the recipe, but reading the recipe is very different from actual cooking. You need hands-on experience of actually using the recipe. So if you have read the formula sheet, you have to essentially have the hands-on experience of solving every single question using those formulas. How do you remember similarity? You solve 10 similarity questions, similarity of triangle questions, you understand that concept well. So you need a source to basically have that kind of granularity. With every concept, you should give a concept test. After you have given concept test, you should take a lot of topic tests, saying that okay, I need at least 100 questions from geometry. That is basically how you get confidence. Initially, you will have like you will take a topic test. Out of 5 questions, you won't be able to solve a single question. That's fine. Go and see those 5 questions. Why was I not able to solve those 5 questions? If any of those similar questions comes in the future, I will be able to solve it. Then for the next test, maybe you will solve 1 question out of 5. Then after that, after a few tests, maybe 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5. You have to constantly work towards actually improving that. If you understand that concepts alone is just reading a recipe, you will understand that just seeing a video is definitely not going to be enough to actually crack CAT. So reading a recipe is far different from cooking. So if you have to really know how to actually solve, you have to take that concept plus marry it with practice, and then only you will be actually able to crack geometry. Okay, Rahul is saying that last time I almost cracked CAT but didn't get into ABC, and now I am not having the motivation as the last time. So I will tell you something, Rahul. What is meant to be will happen. If you are meant to crack CAT in a particular year, you are meant to crack it in that year. Something similar happened to me when I sat for CAT. In the first year when I sat for CAT, I had a CAT score of 99.31, but I didn't get a single call because I didn't clear the LRDI cutoff. But I was actually glad I didn't go in that year, because that was essentially 2008. And in 2008, the financial crisis had just struck. Everything was in like a state of disarray. The placements, summer placements were not doing well, and the finals, everything was impacted quite a bit for that particular batch. I did very well in 2009 CAT. I went to IIMA. At that point of time, there had been this like V-shaped recovery. Things were so bad in 2008, they didn't hire anybody, but in 2009, they were crazy to hire. So when our batch came in, they were like completely that was like a blockbuster year when it came to placements. And I was very lucky I was in the right place at the right time. Because always remember, if you didn't go in 2020, maybe you were meant to go in clear CAT 2021. You are meant to go at that point of time because it might end up being beneficial for you. So don't think of it as, okay, I should have cracked then, that would have been better then. So don't think of it in that particular way. Always think that maybe it was not meant to be, because something better is meant for you, and CAT 2021 would be. Okay. So let's take a look at the Phobia of VARC. There are some people, especially those who come from vernacular background, who have a phobia of VRC. They feel that no matter how much they try, they will never be able to crack this section. Now this is not true at all. I'll just tell you that VRC is not a test of your English skills and your grammar skills. Going to a posh school will not mean that you will have a magical ability when it comes to VRC. What it actually does is, basically I'll tell you, okay, what is the difference between somebody who has gone to a very posh school, has perfect grammar, versus somebody who has gone to a vernacular medium and is smart but does not have a very good grammar skills as such. The difference between A and B is that the only two key differences are, the person who has gone to, like say, English medium has read more in English. That is a very big advantage. And the second advantage is that that person has confidence. These are the only two advantages A has over B. Okay, so don't think that, okay, I don't have any advantage with VRC, I have gone to vernacular school or anything of that sort. Just remember, the only two advantages of people who are good in VARC is that they have read more than you in English and they have the confidence, and essentially A contributes to B. So what should you do to actually overcome your phobia of VARC? Read. And in the case of VARC, you have to do active reading. Now what is active reading? Somebody was asking about this, that I have to reread sentences. So you should never be rereading sentences. Immediately, see, basically what I do is, whenever I have a, whenever I am reading the RC, after reading first paragraph, I take and write down the summary of the first paragraph. So what happens is that it focuses your mind. It focuses your mind on what it has to read. So you can't essentially go through the entire passage without anything sticking, because if you force yourself to write the summary then and there, you have to basically think, what will I write? If nothing is stuck, you can't write anything. So after the first paragraph, you have to say, okay, this paragraph, the main point is that, okay, the author is setting context for the law, or basically giving the historical context of this law. So once you are starting to think actively, okay, what is the author saying through this? What is the point the author is making? Why is the author saying that? You become that active reading, essentially make sure that you don't lose focus, you don't have to reread, and you don't lose your chain of the passage as such. You don't lose what is the author trying to say. So that essentially forces a discipline when it comes to reading. Now if there are 3 months to CAT, there is still time to inculcate this habit. Every single day, what I want you guys to do is, every single day you should be reading one passage, and you should be writing down, for each paragraph of that passage, you should write down the summary of each paragraph. That is going to just improve your ability so much, because the difference between a good person who is able to do VARC well and a person who is not able to do VARC well, the only difference between them is reading skills. The entire VARC section is reading skills. Entire VARC section is comprehension skills. So the more you read, it is essentially like solving quant questions. For solving VARC well, you have to read. Read from different sources, read from different areas, but do active reading and do it consciously for an extended period of time. That should be your only this for VARC. Now where can you actually do this? One area is daily target. Daily target gives you an RC passage daily, and what happens at daily target is that you get a video solution. So when Anant who is there, who is doing the daily target, when he explains each paragraph, he basically tells, okay, this paragraph, he reads it and he tells, okay, the main point is this. So you have to then compare, did I understand the paragraph properly? What is the main point he is writing versus what is my main point? So once you start thinking of it this way, what happens is that you get a check on your comprehension skills, you get a feedback loop for your comprehension skills. So make sure that you do active reading on a daily basis, at least one RC every single day. Okay. Now let's come to the biggest phobia of all, happens to the best of us, the phobia of Lrdi. Legitimately, at one point of time when I was a student, I used to be afraid that if like the first Lrdi set, if I am not able to solve the Lrdi set, I won't be able to solve a single Lrdi set in the entire paper. Because what used to happen is that I have this tendency to be perfectionist, that I have to complete. Once I start the Lrdi set, I won't leave it. So 20 minutes in, I would be like, okay, I can't solve this set. 20 minutes in, I am not going to be able to solve any set. This realistically happens with many students, where there is a legitimate fear that you won't be able to solve a single Lrdi set. don't make this mistake. Go through the entire LRDI section before you start solving. Before you start solving, don't just pick the first set, read each of the sets, identify what type of set it is. Try to get this of how hard that set is. Is it very easy? Is it very difficult? Which sets are your strength? Arrangements are your strength, pick arrangements. Games and tournaments are your strength, pick games and tournaments. Whatever is your strength, make that one of the this for picking the set. Always read the entire section before you start. Also remember that if you start identifying sets, what is going to happen is that you are going to get more confidence of solving it. So for example, when it comes to linear arrangement, I'm sure many of you also have a lot of confidence with linear arrangement, because linear arrangement you have solved so many and linear arrangements are easy. So once you start, okay, this is a linear arrangement, what is going to happen is that immediately the difficulty level of the set in your mind has gone down. So if you have that confidence, you will be able to actually solve that set. So always check the entire section and know the type of set that is there, and for each type of set you should know the representation and you should solve 10 to 20 questions of that particular type. That will give you the confidence that no matter what comes in the section, I will be able to solve 3 sets out of it. I don't need to solve the entire LRDI section. For clearing CAT, I need to be able to solve 3 sets. That's my target. Okay, where for clearing CAT, my target is that I should solve 3 sets in LRDI section. Once you start even reducing the expectations out of you, the phobia will also reduce, because there will be many difficult sets in LRDI. But if you have reasonable expectations, then the phobia also reduces quite a bit. And again, in LRDI, like in all sections, if you have a phobia, there's no escaping the only way to actually beat phobia, which is practice. Practice like crazy. Make sure that you solve. If you have a problem with LRDI section, I would suggest that you should not only solve like one LRDI set every day, but you should at least take one LRDI sectional every week. Because sectionals are basically how you beat a particular section. If you have a phobia of quant, what you should do? Practice during the week, take a sectional in the weekend. If you have a phobia of VRC, you are struggling with the ARC, practice during the week. In the weekend, take a sectional. LRDI, same thing, practice during the week, take a sectional in the weekend. So whatever your phobia is, don't be worried or bogged down by it. It is basically you have identified there are weaknesses. Now don't wallow in your shortcomings. Whenever you identify your shortcomings, you have to work towards improving them. Okay, I'm good at quant, I'm good at VRC, but I'm not good at LRDI. So if you think that, okay, LRDI is not my strength, I'll ignore it, then what is going to happen? There will be no surprises on CAT day. If you know that LRDI is your weakness and you have not really actively done anything to overcome that, you are going to have a bad day on CAT when it comes to the LRDI section. So don't leave it like that. If you have a area or a section which is weak, work on it obsessively. Make it the focus of your preparation. Don't ignore it by any chance. Okay. So let's go to this. Also, please like this stream, please share this stream with those who are actually preparing for CAT. Again, this kind of session is needed because a lot of students are in that valley of despair. Not just you, many people will be there. But remember that you have to dig yourself out of that hole, and you can climb out of that hole only through practice. If you start practicing now, it is enough time for you to actually crack CAT. Okay, so always have that positive attitude that this place where your motivation is low is a temporary place. It's not going to be that, okay, my motivation is lost. It's not like that once you have lost, you will never get your motivation back again. Your motivation is basically going to come through inside. Once you start practicing, start actually delivering to the promises that you are making for yourself, then you will actually get the motivation. If you actually today itself or by tomorrow, if you build that table 1 to 75 day schedule, you will actually get the motivation. You have to actually do things for yourself to get that motivation back. So know that if you have any of these phobias, you feel that this is not going to happen, I'm going to give up, remember that you are selling yourself short. You just have to focus on the next 75 days, and if you don't give up, you will definitely crack CAT. Now let's take a look at the strengths and weaknesses that I have said. So you did all this analysis of mocks and of tests. You have now idea that, okay, I'm weak in this section, I'm weak in this topic, I'm weak in this particular this. So now you have to work on that. How do you actually go around working on that? So basically when you have a list of strengths and weaknesses, if the weakness is a topic, very good, because a topic is so easily this, like somebody said my weakness is algebra. That's a very good thing, because having a weakness of algebra is so much more preferable than having a weakness in quant section. So think of it that way, that I have only a weakness in something that comes as 3 questions out of 76. So 3 questions out of 76 is not really a huge weakness. But still, if you are weak in a particular topic, you have to address that weakness. So what should you do? Make sure you revise every single concept, have complete conceptual clarity, and after that practice. Now even if it is your last pick, you should have a moderate amount of practice in that topic, so that if any easy question comes from that topic, you should be able to solve it. So that is basically the thing, that whatever every week as you take stock, okay, as I said, every week you have this daily schedule in front of you, and as you mark off, okay, I did this day, I did this day, I did this day, every week at the end of the week, you're going to take a mock, you're going to analyze the mock, and then you draw up this list of strengths and weaknesses, okay. Write down in a paper your strengths and weaknesses based on the feedback that you received from your mock. Okay, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses. Every week after you have given the mock, you should be updating the strengths or weaknesses. Your idea should be whatever is your weakness, you should try to push into the column of strengths. So how do you do that? You break down the weakness into subparts. So you say that, okay, algebra is my weakness, then what do? Say algebra is your weakness, then you say that, okay, quadratic equations is there in algebra, linear equations is there in algebra, polynomial equations is there in algebra, functions are there in algebra, modern maths mein logarithms is there, functions is there, graphs are there. I have broken it up into this. Now I can't shift the entire algebra to the strengths column, but I can shift quadratic equations. Quadratic equations are not that difficult. So what you should do is that, okay, in quadratic equations, I'll go and I'll study all the concepts that are there, and I'll solve 50 questions from quadratic equations. By the end of next week, you can definitely shift one of those topics to the left column. You should basically just focus on picking whatever you find the easiest, okay, whatever you have the least fear of, and moving it to the other column. So basically, week on week, as you go to CAT, you have a growing list of strengths and a shrinking list of weaknesses. That is basically the mindset you should take when it comes to topic weaknesses. Now, what are my topic weaknesses? Okay, I have these, this is my list of 20 weaknesses. Every week I should be passing over one of these weaknesses to the strength side. That is the idea of when you have identify weakness, what you should be doing. Now it comes to section weaknesses. Section weaknesses, how do you address? As I said earlier, section weaknesses you have to address through sectionals. So make sure that once you take one mock every weekend, you also take one sectional every weekend in the section in which you are weak. Essentially remember, and this is particularly, I'll tell you an example of somebody who had almost completely given up on a section. We had somebody working with us who was from the vernacular medium, and at the start of their preparation, they believed that they had no chance of actually scoring well in VARC section. They believed, okay, I have to kuch bhi karke I have to get 95 percentile, so that my quant and LRDI actually takes me over the finish line. But if that is the attitude, if they had kept throughout the entire preparation, they would have struggled to hit that 95 percentile, because if you just try to hit the cutoff, you will always fall short. Instead, what they did was they took, that person took sectional every week, he took one VARC sectional, analyzed it, identified what were the areas they couldn't answer well, and moved ahead. Because of all those sectionals, VARC actually, when it came to actual CAT, they got 99 percentile in VARC. So it's not really vernacular medium, inherent weakness, inherent strength, all of that is very figment of imagination. What actually works on CAT day is not your inherent or innate strengths or weaknesses. What actually works on CAT day is how much effort you put in. And because that person put in so much effort in VARC, that reflected in their CAT score. Not whether they went to a posh school or when they went to a vernacular medium school. So always remember, your CAT score reflects how much effort you're going to put in the next 75 days. So remember, if you have that attitude, you will be able to overcome whatever issues, whatever weaknesses that you identified today. Even entire section weaknesses you can cover till CAT. Now the biggest thing that when it comes to weaknesses, and it's sometimes not understood, is the mental ability or mental perseverance and mental strength as such. Always remember, you have to work, when you work on yourself to crack CAT, you will work and learn new concepts. You'll work and practice and gain confidence. You'll work and improve yourself in certain sections. But also be conscious that going from now to CAT, you have to work on your mental ability. So when I say mental ability, what does it mean? It means your ability to handle stress. It means your ability to recover from a bad section, the ability to compose yourself. So composure, stress handling is super important, as is stamina. These three things are never really considered when people prepare for CAT, but they are super important. When I mean handling stress, how you perform in the lead up to CAT will be very different from how you actually perform on CAT day. Because when you are in the CAT center, your heart is beating, your blood is pumping, you will lose focus of what you are doing unless you are used to having that kind of stress. So what you can do is, there's a mind exercise that you can do for recreating or knowing how to handle stress. Is basically you should go and every mock that you take, visualize you are actually sitting in the CAT center. You are sitting in a center like a TCS center. There are rows and rows of computers, there are gaps around you, there is a old desktop in front of you, and you are sitting and you are giving the actual CAT exam. Okay, every mock you have to run this analysis simulation in your mind. So what happens is that if you simulate that kind of stress, you get the experience that okay, this your heart rate is rising, your adrenaline is rising, and when you actually give mock in that kind of an environment, you get more of a practice when it comes to managing stress. It is very important that you learn how to manage stress, because that is the only way that you can actually manage stress on CAT day. So knowing how to actually handle stress, calm down when your adrenaline is pumping, that you can read the passage, that can only come through repeated exposure to that kind of environment, and that can only come if you can simulate the experience in your head. So always make sure that you work on yourself, before you actually give every mock, try to think that okay, this is actual CAT exam. Try to fool your body into thinking that it has to have that elevated response, that this is the actual CAT exam. I will get that spike in stress, and I have to then calm myself down and give the exam. The second thing that you should work on is on composure, or basically the ability to recover from a bad section. Remember, there are 3 sections in CAT, and whenever you have a bad section, it spills over to the next section. I say this specifically for the ability to recover from LRDI section. Last time there were 3 slots in CAT. One of the slots, and it's especially bad LRDI section, and in that slot basically what we saw was that the quant section was not difficult, but the quant scores on average were lower. The reason is that when you have a bad LRDI section, it spills over into quant, because essentially you're still in that zone. Okay, you're still thinking that okay, maybe I should have solved this question, maybe I could have, if I had 1 more minute I would have written all the answers, and then you have to snap out of it and focus on quant as such. So people in general, when they have an especially bad LRDI section, in some slots there will be a especially bad LRDI section as such. The ability that you should essentially have is that take 1 minute, erase that entire section, that thoughts, everything related to it, so that your mind is blank. Then you can start afresh from the next section, then which is quant. So whenever you have an especially bad section, it is very important to know how to regain composure. So essentially have practice meditation, whatever it is required to actually learn how to rebalance yourself after a bad section. This is so important, and I have seen so many good students trip up on this particular thing, that I would actually want to make sure that every student knows this. Handling stress and composing yourself after a bad section is super important. It is far more important than any formula in quant. Knowing how to recover from a bad section is so important, far more important than any particular formula you'll remember. So work on it. It's not something that you're going to just wing it, I am mentally strong, let's test it on CAT day. You should actually prepare for it. Prepare for issues like this to actually occur, so that you know how to handle it. No breathing exercises, no whatever you have, so that you can compose yourself if something happens. Okay. The last thing that you have to remember is stamina. Stamina is something people forget. If you take only sectionals, you won't have the stamina to actually crack CAT. This is less important when it is a 2-hour exam, but it is still important. because what happens is that it is earlier it is like playing 3-hour exam was like playing like ODI cricket versus 2-hour exam which is like T20. You do not have like even a minute to decompress or even like take a minute to like shut off and think and take your time to solve questions. Between sections you don't even get a minute to this 40 minutes is too less for you to actually do that. So because of that, stamina becomes even more important. So actually make sure that you solve a lot of mocks where you go through the mocks in the actual format and you actually sit and solve for extended periods of time. So even when you're practicing, okay, don't take breaks after every half an hour. Do extended practices, 1 hour practices, 1 hour, 1.5 hours practices, so that you have the regular practice of sitting and solving for 1.5 hours. Then your body gets into that zone where it is able to handle that kind of work for an extended period of time. So when you are working on from now to CAT, okay, you have done the analysis, you know what are your areas that you have to work on, you have a schedule in front of you. Work on the topic, work on sections, but also work on your mental ability. It is super important. Many people just forget it, wing it on CAT day, but then they suffer the consequences of that. Know exactly how to handle stress, how to like compose yourself after a bad section, and how to build stamina. Stamina will take time, you have to start now. So always firstly start taking mocks. Start sitting and practicing for extended periods of time. If you're looking for a one-stop solution for all of this, where you can get the concept coverage, the practice, everything, so please do check out our 75 days batch. That is going to give you a day-to-day schedule from now to CAT, and it will be an extensive schedule with a lot of practice, lot of entire concept coverage, and with mocks and sectionals, everything included. So please do take a look at our 75 days batch for CAT. So I'll try to solve some of the questions that are there. I'm struggling, like when I give mock then I cannot solve, but when I analyze it solves quickly. So Rahul, basically you have to now work on your ability to handle stress and focus under stress. So that will come through practice also. So if you keep practicing, what happens is that your ability to work through stress increases. You have to take more mocks to simulate that level of stress, that okay, I have this time is ticking down. There are a lot of people who get worked up when the timer is ticking down, that they are not able to solve any question when the timer is impacting their ability to think. But essentially if you give more time test, the timer has less and less effect on you. So always just remember that okay, if this is affecting me mentally, if that stress is making me less efficient, I should essentially expose myself to that stress again and again, so that its impact on me reduces over time. कितने मॉक देने चाहिए before CAT? You should give at least 10 mocks, but 10 mocks with mocks plus analysis plus another 20 sectionals. 10 is the lower end. You should ideally give at least 15 mocks, but at least 10 mocks from now to CAT. And don't just give a mock and just forget about it. You have to give a mock, read through all the solutions, make sure you solve the entire paper, and also analyze the mock. Okay, so let's I'm not bad in VRC, but I don't know why I'm not able to score. Please suggest something. Jaya, you have to analyze the section as such. Where did you go wrong? Did you go wrong in understanding the paragraph, the passage? Did you have an issue with like RCs where there are close options? Do you have issue with a specific type of RC, like informative RC, scientific RC? Now the only thing that you can do is pick those things again and again, where essentially if you have a problem with RCs with close options, find RCs where the options tend to be on the when they are closer. So that will come if you solve a lot of RCs. So essentially again, if you are not able to solve a particular kind of question, identify, make a note of it, that okay, this is something that I have to actually build as a strength, then work and practice through it. Okay, so I know there have been a lot more questions, and I'll try to solve as many of them, but I will try to give more motivation, more advice during the rest of the streams. But thank you guys so much for joining us during this particular stream. Always remember, from now to CAT, whether you crack CAT or not is entirely in your hand. It is a skill that you have to build, a skill that you have to commit by giving 3 hours every single day. If you don't do that, you have only yourselves to blame. If you do that, you have only yourselves to thank. So please make sure that every single day you have a schedule ready from now to CAT, and you put in the time every single day. Thank you guys so much for coming, and I know that a lot of you guys are still this, so thank you so much guys for all those who liked the stream and shared the stream. Thank you very much, and whatever I hope I was able to solve and resolve some of the doubts that you have. And if you're looking for a place where you can improve for CAT, please do check out Krakow.in. We have excellent courses. Our mocks and sectionals are one of the best. Our 75-day course will essentially take care of you of all the prep needs from now to CAT day. So please do check out our courses, and thank you for tuning in.